In my third year as a war correspondent in the Middle East, a mortar shell shattered my life and stole my memories. The trauma left me stranded in a psychiatric facility for 2 agonizing years, battling a severe, crippling case of PTSD. It was only 2 months ago that the fog finally cleared, and I remembered exactly who I was. The day I returned, my best friend Jared and my wife Cheryl met me at the arrivals gate. They wept harder than I did, their shoulders shaking with a grief I couldn't quite fathom. Cheryl's eyes were bloodshot, but her voice held that same familiar warmth. The new place is all set up. Go settle in first and I'll join you right after work tonight. But I didn't go to the new apartment. Instead, I drove to our old house, the home we had built together, brick by brick. The moment I unlocked the front door, my gaze fell on the massive wedding portrait hanging in the living room. The groom wasn't me, it was Jared. The heavy click of the lock sounded behind me. I turned to see the woman who was supposedly buried in corporate meetings walking through the door, her fingers tightly laced with Jared's. In her arms, she held a toddler who babbled a sweet, piping mommy as he looked up at them. I stood frozen, the air trapped in my throat. We had only been apart for 2 years. How on earth was their child already 3 years old? Cheryl and Jared froze. Jared's smile shattered into a look of sheer terror, and Cheryl dropped his hand as if she had been burned. She hurriedly passed the toddler to Jared, her voice laced with sudden panic. "Matt, what are you doing here?" I stared at the 3 of them, the betrayal like a physical weight pressing on my chest. Jared held the boy tighter, his face turning paper pale. "Matt, listen to me. It's not what you think." "Then what is it?" My hand trembled as I pointed at the portrait on the wall. "Cheryl, you married Jared. Why didn't anyone invite me to the wedding?" Cheryl stepped forward, her arms reaching out as if to hold me, but she stopped halfway, her hands hovering in the empty space between us. "Matt, it's complicated. When you went missing, everyone thought you were dead. We just—" My voice broke. "I was missing for 2 years. Your child is 3. You 2 were together before I even left, weren't you? I could have survived her remarrying. I could have processed the grief of her moving on after believing I was dead. But this, the realization that she had been cheating on me with my best friend, that they had conceived a child before I even deployed, was a knife twisting in an open wound. Under my gaze, both of them fell silent. Cheryl began to sob, whispering endless apologies. Jared just stood there, looking down. I looked around the house again. The living room was cluttered with toys. The mid-century sofa and the linen curtains we chose together were gone, replaced by things I didn't recognize. On the mantel, family photos had taken over. Cheryl, leaning against Jared's chest, her face lit with a radiant, easy smile. It was a smile that used to belong to me. Now, it cut into my eyes like broken glass. Eventually, Cheryl wiped her tears, her voice raspy. "Matt, let the past be the past. We're just so incredibly glad you're alive." "Let it go?" "Cheryl, I went from being your husband to an intruder in my own home. How does anyone just let that go?" The child, startled by my raised voice, began to cry. Jared scrambled to soothe him. Cheryl frowned, looking at the boy. "Matt, I know I wronged you, but Jared and the baby are innocent. Don't make a scene here. This was our wedding house. Now, another man was living in it, and she was pushing me out. This is my house. Why should I leave?" Cheryl physically pushed me toward the door. "Matt, calm down. We'll talk about this tomorrow. Don't scare the baby." The heavy wooden door slammed shut in my face. Through the thick wood, I could hear the muffled sound of the toddler giggling, Cheryl crooning, "Let mommy hold you," and Jared calling her sweetheart. They were a picture-perfect family, and I was just a madman screaming on their porch. My ears began to ring. A high, deafening whine. Suddenly, I wasn't on a quiet suburban porch anymore. I was back in the dust of the Middle East, shells raining down like iron hail, shrapnel tearing through flesh. The